So a while back I made a list of important items, or at least items I consider to be important in Marauders, and that list is now due for an update considering the game launched in early access, and that there are far more quests both in the Zero to Hero questline and daily contracts to take into account. So in no particular order, I'm just going to go through my list here and talk about the items, where you can find them and what they will be used for down the line. So the first item is metal sheets. Now, you need 8 of them for a Zero to Hero quest called Advanced Resupply. This quest is quite early on, and you also need 3 for a daily contract. So I just always keep some on hand because you do need them to craft. If you want easy places to get them, garbage bins, boxes, garbage bags, obviously toolboxes, the locked crates that are blue and yellow that you can unlock, and there's some on pretty much every map. You can really get a lot of metal sheets from those. If not, you can buy light Stalheims from the vendor once you can actually purchase them and scrap those for metal sheets, but always having them on hand can save you from having to go out and look for them when you actually need them. Silver coins, so I keep a stack of silver coins at any given time in my stash. It only takes up 1 slot. You need one for the guild membership quest in the Zero to Hero quest line, and you need one for a daily contract. So I just tend to keep a stack, and when I start getting low, I just refill that stack of silver coins. That way, as soon as I get that daily contract, I can just turn it in. And same thing for the guild membership contract. As soon as I get that, I can just turn it in. Next up, ration crates. So you need 3 of these crates for the Run Dry quest. It's about a quarter of the way through the Zero to Hero questline, or specifically the 12th quests as of making this video. So ration crates, you have to keep them unopened. So you have to keep 3 unopened, and you can find these in multiple areas. I find them a lot in filing cabinets is a really good place to find them. You can find them laying around on tables. Obviously, the kitchens in any given map. So on Asteroid Mine, there's a kitchen near the drop pod. On the prison, there's a canteen, just to name a few. So you can find these in a lot of areas. You can also find them in garbage bags. I found some in just flat out cardboard boxes lying around the map. So just make sure you look in all these different places. You could be surprised at where you can actually find these ration crates, but I would at least keep 3 unopened in my inventory until the Run Dry quest, which is the 12th quest in the Zero to Hero quest line, because it can be frustrating when you need items and you're on a specific quest and you're just stuck because you can't for the life of you find what you need. Which brings me to the next item, which are biscuit tins. So this is required for the Cookie Monster quest, which is only 3 quests after the Run Dry Zero to Hero contract. Now, biscuit tins, I've seen a lot of people struggle to find these. Fridges, refrigerators are the best place where I found the most biscuit tins. Now you need 3 for the quest, so just keep 3 unopened. They're small, they only take a single slot. And yeah, I've had a lot of comments saying like, I can't find biscuit tins, I'm stuck on this quest. Well, try to look in refrigerators. I've found a ton there, and also those little ration containers that are like made out of metal. They look like lunch boxes. You can find those obviously in the kitchen, so keep at it and looking in those containers that I mentioned, and you will eventually find the biscuit tins. Moving on to the M1A1 government issue pistol. So this is required for the quest called Government Issue. It requires you to get 12 kills with the M1A1G. I can't even say how many M1A1 government pistols I've given away to the community because people can't find them. The best places to find them, the Merchant Frigate. There's kind of like these security offices in the Merchant Frigate in the bottom. You can find them there. And prison is a gold mine of M1A1 government pistols. You can find them in the security areas. You can find them on tables all throughout the prison. I currently have 12 M1A1Gs right now. I'm holding on to them for people that are having a hard time getting their hands on them, but prison is your best bet. And if you can find the Merchant Frigate, which they did bump the spawn rate up for, you can find them there. You can also find them like on maps like Space Station, lying around some tables where there are pistol spawns, most notably near one of the stash locations on Spaceport. So yeah, these are the best areas to get them. If you need one really bad, you can't find it, just hit me up on Discord. I'll be glad to share my stash of M1A1 governments with the community. So moving on to toolkits. So toolkits are required for a Zero to Hero quest called Space Mechanic. When I did the quest, you need 9. I don't think they changed it, but they might have. But toolkits are just a good thing to have all around, especially after the health patch. A lot of the new crafts require toolkits. You need toolkits to craft containers, so small and large containers. You need them to craft ships. You need them to craft certain attachments for weapons. So just always having them on hand is a good idea. You can find these on dead bodies. I find a lot on dead security guards throughout the maps. You can find them obviously in toolboxes and in the locked bins that are yellow and blue that you need a tool pick to unlock. You can find these scattered around. Pretty much every map has them. So those are the best places to find the toolkits. So moving on to the trench gun. So we're starting to get into the area where it's kind of up to you if you want to keep these. So the trench gun is required for the breach and clear quest. If you have the space, I'd keep more than one in case you do die with your trench gun. You used to be able to buy supply drops from the Space Pirates vendor, but they removed that with the health patch. So now I would consider them a little bit more rare than they used to be. So if you find a trench gun, make a little bit of room for it. Keep it on hand. You will need it down the line, albeit breach and clear is the 24th quest. So if you think you can find more consistently, fine, get rid of it. But I would probably keep a few just to be sure. Next, we have nuclear material. So this is required way down the line for a quest called Nuclear Warfare. And I would always pick these up because you can make a nuke launcher for your ships, which is awesome. You can find these in the stashes. I'll have links to my videos showing you guys where the stashes are on any given map. The only map that doesn't have any right now is the Navy Outpost, but you can find, I found most of my nuclear material in hidden stashes. So very good place to get them. Also, you can find them in the depots. So there's a depot on all maps now. You just need a token to open it. They aren't guaranteed, but they are a pretty good place to look for nuclear material. But honestly, stashes are a very, very good way of acquiring this specific item in Marauders. And yeah, just keep it on hand until you get to the nuclear warfare quest. Moving on to meth. So I have seen loads of people looking for meth for the drug dealer quest. You need 12, which is no small feat. It's kind of hard to come by if you don't really know where to look. Obviously, the medical areas in all the maps are the best place to find meth, but it can still kind of be rare. I think they might have bumped up the spawn rate a little bit in the most recent update, but throughout the Zero to Hero questline, I specifically did not use meth as a painkiller unless I absolutely needed to in a game, for the simple fact that I knew it was coming and I would need 12 meth, and I was hanging on to some for my friends as well because they would eventually need them. So I would strongly urge you to keep at least 12, and then whatever is extra, just use it, but keep 12 for this quest. A lot of people were stuck on this for a while, and if you do need meth right now, not that I'm trying to be a drug dealer here, if you need some, I'm about to prestige, so just hit me up on Discord. I'll be glad to divvy out whatever I have, first come, first serve basis, pretty much. Moving on to the M1A1 Para. This is required for the quest called Weapon Check. You need to get 50 kills with it. You can easily find these off security guards, especially on the Merchant Frigate, because they mostly use the MAT 49 and the M1911. So you can easily find those. You can also buy it from one of the vendors once you level them up enough. So it's up to you if you really want to keep it or not. It doesn't take much room, but the quest is pretty far out. So, and then they're not that difficult to get once you get at that specific point or quest called Weapon Check in the Zero to Hero quest line. Chances are you'll be high enough level with your traders to just be able to flat out buy it. So this is kind of a keep it if you think you won't be there yet, but you probably will. Moving on to UA Intel. So this is required for the Devil's Intel Zero to Hero contract, which is the 31st contract in the quest line. So kind of far, but I saw a lot of people just have a single one when they got to that point. At that point, I had multiples on hand, and I had kept like every Warbond and Intel I could find in case I did need them for quests. So it just so happened that I had enough UA Intel. But you can find these in UA supply drops. And honestly, I think that's the only place off the top of my head where you can get UA Intels from. So I would definitely keep 3. So when you get to that contract, you aren't just looking for them for hours upon hours and raids upon raids on end, looking for that last UA Intel you need. Again, I do have some saved up. If you need them, just hit me up. Moving on to gold bullion. So these are a little bit more common now. than they were in the past, but you need one for the quest called Experimental Killer, which is the 30-second quest in the 0.2 quest line. So it just requires 1 gold bullion. You can find these in hidden stashes. You can find them in vaults, so in lockers and stuff like that when you do loot the vault. There's also a couple of places, like on the merchant frigate, there's like these kind of like elevators that bring big merchandise up and down. They can be on the boxes there. I have seen them, so keep your eyes peeled. They are also worth quite a bit, around 36,000 at the time of making this video. So if you need a little cash bump, it's really good to pick up. But yeah, I would keep at least 1 for the contract. Moving on to the Heavy Thompson. So you need one for the quest called Legend Grows. Luckily, you get one from the quest that you had just completed called Experimental Killer. So you need to get 25 kills with the Heavy Thompson. You get 1, but I've seen most people need maybe 2. Like, the thing is with the Heavy Thompson, it takes up so much freaking room that it's kind of hard to hang on to. But when you do get to the Legend Grows contract, it's kind of a pain in the ass if you lost the one you got from the quest before. So I would maybe keep 1, like, on the side in case, or maybe do this quest with some friends or a crew. That way, if you do end up dying, they can bring you back your Heavy Thompson. So it's kind of hard to tell people to keep this just because of how much room it takes, but you will thank yourself for having one when you get to the contract that requires it. Next, medical crates. So I would pick these up regardless. They're pretty much the only way to get large first aid kits. You can find large first aid kits and medical bags on beds in the medical rooms and stuff like that, but medical crates are just, they give you so many meds. Sometimes you can get unlucky and only get bandages, but generally speaking, they're pretty good. They only take up 6 slots and they provide you with much more than 6 slots worth of meds. And you need 3 for the Lifesaver contract in the 0.2 quest line, and that is quest number 34. So keep 3 uncracked ones, and you can very easily find these in filing cabinets. Filing cabinets are the #1 place where I find medical crates, especially in the merchant frigate. I don't know what it is with that place. I find medical crates in there all the time. On average, I can probably get it with 3 or 4 med crates in a single merchant frigate run. So that just gives you an idea of how frequent they are, for me at least, on the merchant frigate. But you can find these also in med bags, and any med bay that you can find on the maps are a pretty reliable way of getting these. And also in vaults, they can spawn in lockers, but they're quite infrequent. So the filing cabinets and the medical areas are probably your best bet for these. Next, blowtorches. So blowtorches, they are required to open vaults, and vaults are probably the best way to make money in Marauders. Also, best way to get high tier-ish items most of the time. Sometimes you can get unlucky and you get a really bad vault, but generally speaking, vaults are a very good way of getting really good loot very quickly. Blowtorches you can't make till way down the line in the 0.2 quest line. You get 1 for a quest called Vault Raider, which requires you to hold the Terraformer Vault for 90 seconds. But as I said, you get the blowtorch from the previous quest. But they're just always good to have on hand. I always have like probably 6 in my stash at any given time, and I tend to bring 1 every run. But if not, you can find these in toolboxes, and then the locked containers that are yellow and blue that you can unlock with lockpicks. You can get those blowtorches from there pretty easily. Moving on to copper coins. So same principle as the silver coins. So I tend to keep actually 2 full stacks at any given time, because there is a daily contract that requires you to give 8 of them to complete it. These are pretty common. You can find them on dead bodies. You can find them in trash. You can find them in obviously jewelry boxes, vaults. But I would always keep 2 stacks on hand. That way, as soon as that contract comes up, I can just knock it out and I have another stack if I get it again the next day without having time to replenish the stack that I had just given away. So just a quick way to get some contracts done and get some XP, get some trader rep without having to go out and specifically look for copper coins. Moving on to transmitters. So 3 are required for the Call Home daily contract. I have a container in my stash dedicated to quest items and valuable items. So I tend to hoard these and grab them every time I see them. That way I have them for myself or for my friends if they get the contract and they are short, maybe 1 or 2 transmitters. You can find these in a couple of different areas. I'm just going to name a few. So there's a little room right before the vault in Spaceport. You can find it on the desk right there. That desk is also required. Well, the documents on the desk are required for a bank transfer quest, which is the daily. You can find them in the security, just before the security in asteroid mine. You can find them in the Foreman's office, also an asteroid mine, which is way below, all the way down where the drills are. So these are just a few off the top of my head. You can also find them in a few offices. So in the admin office, in Spaceport, which is right beside the med bay, you can find it there as well. So there's quite a few places where they spawn pretty frequently, but I just tend to have like 6 or 9 on hand just so I don't have to specifically go out looking for these when I get the transmitter quest. Moving on to nickel ore. So one is required for a daily contract. Seeing as they take up a single inventory slot, I just grab it every time I go into the asteroid mine. As far as I know, there's only a singular spawn for the nickel ore, which is below the drills. There's a little staircase that leads to like a little nook with 2 dead bodies. That's the only place I've seen a nickel ore spawn. I haven't seen it anywhere else. If you know of another spawn for it, please tell me in the comment section down below. But I just grab it every time I go down there, just so I have them on hand and I don't have to specifically look for the asteroid mine map when I get the daily contract for the nickel ore. Moving on to motor oil. So one is required for a daily contract. I tend to have maybe 1 or 2 on hand at any given time. They have a few static spawns and a couple of dynamic spawns. Right in front of the heavy frigate on Spaceport, I think it's a static spawn. I think I found one there every single time I've gone to loot the hidden stash. So I think that's a static spawn on the merchant frigate. There are 2 spawns right where you breach the ship. There's like a ramp and there's trucks down below. There's trucks up top. I think there's 2 spawns there. There's one down below, one up top. And I think up top is a static spawn. I'm pretty sure I found one there every single time I've gone to the merchant frigate, if I'm not mistaken. You can also find them in the garage area on Asteroid Mine pretty frequently behind the trucks. So there's a couple of spawns for you to look for motor oil. But yeah, I always keep like 2. They are like 4 slots, so no more than 2. Moving on to jewelry boxes. So first things first, if you didn't know, you can open jewelry boxes and empty them. Yes, a lot of people didn't know that for the longest time. Open them, empty them, and then sell the contents. Don't just sell the jewelry box full. You'll make more money if you open it. Well, generally speaking, you'll make more money if you open it. You can find coins in these, which are a great way to get your coins that you need for the quests, but you do need 8 jewelry boxes for the quest called Deserved Promotion. Now, this is a quest almost at the end of the quest line for the Zero to Hero contracts. It is quest number 39, so just one shy of the last quest. But when you start getting towards the middle of the Zero to Hero quest line, maybe start keeping these somewhere. They do take up 2 slots, so that's going to be like 16 slots between the 8 of them. But you can find these pretty frequently or almost all the time in black pouches. So black pouches can be found laying around on certain desks in certain maps. You can also find black pouches in safes. You do need a lockpick to open the safe, but once you're in, just open the pouches. There's usually coins in there, Warbonds, and or jewelry boxes, so that's a great way to get them. You can also find them pretty frequently on static dead security guards throughout maps, so that's another pretty good way of getting jewelry boxes. But yeah, once you start getting like past maybe the 3/4 mark of the Zero to Hero questline, I'd probably start keeping some of these uncracked. Moving on to CE Intel. So one is required for a daily contract, and they are also required to craft capital frigates, so for sure keep a few on hand. You can find these in CE supply drops, and you can find it in the capital frigate. So the AI capital frigate that spawns on the map in the command center or the command room, there's usually one on the table there. I don't know if it's 100% spawn, but I feel like I've seen it every time since the health update. It's been there. So pick that up, keep a few, and then when that daily contract comes up, you can just turn it in. Moving on to the gold ring or the Foreman's ring. So this item is required for a daily contract, and it has a single static spawn in the asteroid mine in the Foreman's office right above the safe. So while you're going to get that gold ring, grab that nickel ore, or while you're going to grab that nickel ore, grab the gold ring. That way you can just grab it, keep it on hand, and when that quest does pop up for your daily contract, you can just turn it in, and you still have a few for the next time you get that contract. Next is the heavy MG42. So my thought process behind this is the same with the heavy Thompson. It takes up a ton of space, but you will be happy to have more than the one you get for a contract reward for the quest prior to the one that requires the MG42. So the heavy MG42 is required for a strong apology. You need to get 50 kills with it or with any other weapon as long as you have the heavy MG equipped. But yeah, they're quite large. They take up like, 15 slots? I think they're 3x5 or 3x6. So yeah, like I would keep maybe one. You do get one for a quest, and maybe try to do this strong apology contract with friends. That way, again, if you die, they can pick it up, bring it back to you. So it's kind of like if you have the room for it, if you have a lot of containers, keep one. If you don't, maybe don't keep one because there's probably things that you would rather have in your stash. But if you are looking for heavy MG42, you can find them pretty easily in vaults. So the footlockers as well. There's a lot of footlockers on Navy outposts, so you can find heavy MG42s there. But vaults and footlockers are probably your best bet for the heavy MG42. Moving on to a few other weapons, which I would consider somewhat important, but I'd never keep any on hand or very rarely, except the bar if I want to use it. So the bar, Oberez, Mauser, and Wellrod, they're required for either turn-in contracts or kill contracts. Luckily, you can craft the bar and the Oberez, and the Mauser and Wellrod, you can just buy them when you need them. So there's two vendors, one sells the Wellrod, one sells the Mauser. So I never really keep these on hand. I just get them whenever I do need them. Moving on to industrial paper. So this is required for actually a new contract that they added with the health patch. So you need one to turn in. You can find them in multiple areas. I find them a lot in filing cabinets. You can find them pretty easily. They also sometimes just lie around on crates or tables. Offices are probably a pretty good bet for these. But yeah, now I will keep them on hand. I used to just not even pick them up, but now that there's a quest for them, I'll keep at least one or two at any given time so I can just knock that quest out of the park. Moving on to the Commando Major Beret. So the Commando Major used to only spawn on the Capital Frigate. Now it can spawn on any map, anywhere. So that is great. When you kill him, first of all, he has a really good armor on him, which is the Panzer Rig. And now if you can, also grab his Beret because you do need one for a daily contract. So maybe keeping one or two on hand if you come across a Commando Major. That way you don't have to look for them when you get that contract. We're almost at the end here. So for the last contract in the Zero to Hero questline, you need to get 100 kills with Flamethrower. You don't necessarily need to kill people with the Flamethrower. You need to have one equipped. But this is the last contract in the questline. Now, you used to be able to buy supply drops, but they took that out. Now, you kind of need to find the Flamethrowers. So you can find these in vaults, are a great place, footlockers. You can find flamethrowers pretty easily there. You can also find them in lockers, so just flat out lockers. Those are a pretty good place to look for them too. But yeah, I wouldn't really keep these when you're like only halfway through the Zero to Hero questline. They're just going to be taking up space for no reason. Maybe have some fun with them, bring them in, but don't necessarily keep them. And just as a mention here, so Warbonds aren't important per se, but they are valuable. So you can pad your money stash with this, but at a certain point, money is kind of superfluous in Marauders, as there's only so much you can do with it. Pick them up at your discretion, but at a certain point, things like ammo are probably more valuable for your overall gameplay loop rather than Warbonds, unless you really want to have an impressive number in your stash. I have recently, or actually for a long time now, I haven't even been picking up any Warbonds because I have so much money. I've accrued so much that there's no point in me picking this stuff up anymore. I don't have anything to do with my money. So yeah, up to you if you want to pick them up. Maybe early game it's nice because it pads your money stash and you can just build it up until you're at a certain point where you're like comfortable and you don't have to scrounge around for gear and money anymore. But past that, just leave them there. So this video is long enough already. I think that would be it for my list of important items, or at least what I consider important items. There's also a few other honorable mentions here. So fabric and leather strips, because you can make basically the best craftable armor in the game. So which is the plate rig. Awesome armor. So just having that on hand is very, very good. But yeah, I think that would be it for this list. But yeah, if you have any questions, please feel free to let me know in the comment section down below. If you think I missed any items, same thing. If you do need some items and you're watching this video within the few days that it came out, please contact me on Discord if you need anything. I'm getting rid of everything in my stash. If I don't give it away, it's going to the void when I prestige. So if you need any quest items, reach out to me if I still have them. It'll be my pleasure to give them out on a first come, first serve basis. But anyways, hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.